Hey, what's up? This is Demasius. I just wanted to make a follow-up video to the last one, just to kind of as an update and just to clear up a couple of things that have kind of changed since the last video. I made that one before, like a couple of weeks before 9.0.5, I think. So this one's just a bit of an update, particularly about echoes and also our viability in dungeons and raids. So first of all, with stats, obviously the same crit haste as much as you can. You're probably going to find that when you're running echoes, crit's going to have a little bit more value, and when you're running skybreakers, haste might even be a bit above crit actually in your sims. Obviously stat weights are a little bit like sometimes a bit funny, but yeah, if you do stat weight sims or gem sims, you might find that when you run skybreakers, it's actually going to tell you to get a bit more haste, and you can even like switch around your gems for a key if you're running skybreakers. Now, so talents and legendaries. In the last video, I pretty much said that this is what you want to run. This, and I said that you probably don't want to run echoes. So that. When I said that, echoes was 100%, not 120%, and I believe the general consensus was that you wouldn't really want to run it much. Like skybreakers and wind speakers would be usually better, but that is not the case at all. Basically, yeah, echoes and skybreakers both very, very good, both pretty much equally good. Same goes for moat and storm melee, both very, very good. And basically you can pretty much run any combination of these two talents and any combination of these two legendaries. At the moment it's quite difficult to sort of say which combination is better. So like if you look at the dungeons, like personally for me, Inspires, Theatre and Plaguefall, they have a lot of sort of like single target, like 1 to 3 target, and when I do my sims generally for that kind of thing, moat sims slightly better, so I'll generally play moat in those three, and the rest of them usually it's storm melee, but sometimes storm moat. When I was doing all the sims and stuff, the thing that generally sort of had the most impact was these two talents rather than the legendaries. So I think that the two talents are the main things you want to be thinking about when you're doing a key rather than the legendary. It's hard to explain. Obviously the legendaries are important to choose as well, but generally I feel like when there's more single target and sort of like light cleave, you want to go for this. And when there's a lot of AoE, so for example, like maybe other side, like Item Wield, you probably want to go for this. But as I said, any combination will work. When you think about the legendaries, it's kind of a similar situation. So like with Echoes, slightly better on the ST than Skybreakers. And when you sim like large AoE, usually it comes out like slightly better. But by the same token, like skybreakers, if you're doing like a theater where there's a lot of like 1 to 3 target, you know, moat skybreakers is probably going to be pretty strong, because you've got you know, especially on the first boss, like a lot of targets to just maintain flame shock on, and if you're doing it another side with a shitload of AoE, you might want to run Skybreaker Storm Melee and just get a lot of Storm Melees out in the key. So that was all very convoluted, and I hope it makes sense, but basically any combination of, you know, those two talents and those two legendaries will be fine. If you have any other like better ideas than I do, definitely feel free to let me know, but that's generally how I feel about all of that. Just briefly with the races, obviously not very important. You can just, like, I mean, if you're going for absolute, you know, min-max damage, you'd probably want to go for like Dwarf, Draenei, Tauren, or Goblin, but you know, I would generally try and pick one based on the utility aspect of things, and I think Stoneform is very, very strong. So if you are Alliance, I'd definitely recommend Dwarf, but yeah, at the end of the day, it's not that important. With the Covenants and the Soulbinds, just quickly, like Necrolord and Nightfey, both very, very strong. The other two, not so much. You can play either, for sure. Like, I think they're both good in different ways. I mean, with Necrolord, as I said in the first video, like there aren't a lot of other classes in the, you know, doing keys that are Necrolord, so it's definitely something that we bring to the table. But it might depend on your team, if you have a team, like what covenants you have. But you know, Mage and Boomkin are still, you know, comfortably in the meta, and they're both Nightfey usually. So for me personally, I don't feel like it's worth going Nightfey, but you know, I mean that's just me. Nightfey is obviously very strong, but it's just you might be sort of not be able to, you know, bring that those Necrolord buffs that not many other classes can. Like with the Soulbind, when you're Necrolord, pretty much just want to only run this guy. I feel like he's generally comfortably seeming higher than M&E. This guy, yep, probably don't worry about. I haven't even looked at this in the new patch, but I think I don't think it's like amazing. Just stick with this guy usually. You also probably want to, this is something I said in the last video, if you're running Skybreakers, you want to think about this, but probably ignore that actually. I think you probably want to just stick with this. Very, very strong in single target and it's AoE. This one, it's like obviously you have the potential to get some more flame shocks out if you're running Skybreakers, but like it's not really that big for single target. This is just a really, really strong trade all round, usually sims higher. And you also want to think about making a cancelaura macro for this. I haven't done it yet. I've been kind of lazy, but you definitely want to set that up. I think I really need to do that. So like, you know, if this is off CD and you're getting stacks of it and like a pack's literally about to die, you don't want it to pop like as it dies and you'll just waste your proc. So like, I'm pretty sure that's the only like situation where you want to cancel it. Just micromanage it like that. Utility as well. I mean, I'll just go through quickly. Like as a Necrolord in Plaguefall, Fleshcraft next to the red oozes, and you get 25% haste for you and people around you for 2 minutes. Like obviously pretty insane. The other two types of oozes aren't that great. I think it's like DR and chance on hit to do extra damage, which isn't that much damage at all, but yeah, it's mainly the red one. And in Theatre, you've obviously got the banners that you click on as a Necrolord, and you give, I think it's 10% verse for 5 minutes to your party, which is very, very good. Usually you just want to, I guess, click them when you get to them, depending on the route that your group does or whatever. You might just want to ask beforehand when people want the banners, but if not, just you can just like grab them whenever. So going through some minor utility stuff, healing stream, like it doesn't really heal for that much at all, but it is worth using generally. Like if you're killing a pack and then pride spawning and like it spawns at the end of the pack, you can just drop it, you know, before the pride spawns, and it might let your healer do like 1 extra damage GCD. Maybe not this week. I mean, it depends, but maybe not this week though, because like when the pack dies, you might want to like gen a bit of Maelstrom off the Spiteful or control the Spiteful for your group just before the Prideful spawns. But generally on other weeks you can just drop it to help out. And if you have to move or whatever during a pack or a boss and you don't have Spirit Walkers and you don't have any other instant casts, you can just drop it as well. Like you may as well. You're not going to do anything else if you're just moving and not casting, not casting anything. Hex is obviously a CC. Gets used sometimes, I guess. Like miss second boss on the ad maybe. But unfortunately, it's not like in prison. Like you can't sort of hex something and have your group run past it or whatever, because you'll just get in combat with it. AG, oh yeah, I mean this talent row, generally you want to just go AG, because I mean, I don't know, I guess it doesn't matter, but I generally prefer AG. It's pretty insane, it can be pretty insane if use it with like Stormkeeper and you know, some like echoes, earthquakes, and that kind of thing. It can really do a lot of healing. Tremor Totem, not really used a great deal. I think the only time I can think of is like first boss miss. You want to just get in a near melee and chuck it down when the fear comes out, and make sure everyone's in range of it. Cap Totems, your AoE stun, like really good for like a pack of like a lot of small mobs that just do like constant stuff, like constant casts or whatever. Think about Souls in Theatre, that kind of thing. You know, obviously really good when you just want to like stop them all for a few seconds, obviously. You can sort of use it when your tank calls for it, but I mean, it depends on the tank that you play with. Like, you might play with a tank that likes to call like a whole bunch of stuff for you, or a tank that just sort of lets you use it whenever. Just be careful when, like, don't just sort of randomly use it, obviously, and like snipe people's kicks and stuff, because that can be bad. But yeah, on stuff like the Swords in Theatre, definitely just chuck that down. It really helps out a lot. Thunderstorm's your knockback. Another thing that your tank might like to call for if he's kiting, or if he's just kiting in general, not really calling anything, you can just help him out. Just be careful though, it's a really like fuck off knockback. It's really big, it's like twice as big as Typhoon, so just don't knock shit into a different pack, whatever. Earthbinds your slow, really helpful when the tank is kiting. If he starts to kite and he doesn't really have much else, like no trees or earth cells to help him, just chuck it down, it'll really help, and it'll also help you keep things in your earthquake as well, generally. And then the last big one, I suppose, is Earth Ellie. So like, I mean, it serves two purposes. It's kind of like trees, but I mean more powerful, but like it has a 5-minute cooldown instead of 1, which really sucks. But anyway, so obviously it can help out your tank, and it also can help out yourself with hardened skin, its own wall. So it's a bit tricky sometimes, like trying to balance whether you obviously it's such a long cooldown, like you want to help out your tank, but you also might need the hardened skin for like a certain boss or something, such as like the third boss in Sanguine Depths. You really want to try and make sure you have Earth Ellie for that boss to DR, well, get an extra DR, I guess, on one of the mechanics where you have to collect orbs. Can't remember the name. So yeah, generally when I run, like the tank doesn't call for it or anything. I just kind of use it, you know, when I need it for my DR, or just use it when it looks like he's in a lot of trouble. Now, lastly, the viability, and like whether we're like approaching the sort of Mythic Plus meta. In my first video, I said that like the damage is going to increase on average by about 10% overall in keys. And I also said that the viability probably won't really change like too much. I don't think that's true. I think our viability in keys has actually skyrocketed. And so basically, like from my experiences as well, like our overall's gone up by, I want to say 15%, maybe even 20% in like a mist or something. So our overall did go up slightly more than I thought it would. We're pretty much just doing fire mage damage. Like it's pretty insane at the moment. And I do think, like I have heard some people say that they think that the DPS meta is still comfortably boomy mage, but that third spot this season has always been a little like a little flexible. Like usually it was rogue, but like, you know, anything else decent generally worked as well. And there are people, I've heard Kennex say, for example, that he strongly thinks that Elemental is a pretty safe pick for that third spot. And I agree. I mean, it's just like, I generally think that for keys and raid, obviously there are a lot of different things that determine how viable or meta a class is, but I think honestly the main thing is just how much damage a class does, or a spec does, and the type of damage that it does. LE and Fire Mage, I think right now are the top, pretty comfortably the top sort of overall damage classes in keys. And we also do really good pride damage as well. So yeah, I think Ellie is like in a really good spot at the moment for sure, and I'm looking forward to the rest of the season. I'm looking forward to playing myself, and I'm looking forward to you know, watching a lot of other players play Ellie and learn Ellie, and I'm interested to see where it goes. In Raid as well, briefly, I did mention last video that, you know, we don't really bring a whole lot. I think I might have like overplayed that a little. Like we obviously do. Like the main thing that we bring in Raid is Wind Rush, like non-damage wise, which is like, you know, there are classes that definitely bring more than that. You know, you're thinking of like Mage and Warlock and Boomkin who bring basically a speed boost plus an innovate, whereas we only bring a speed boost. But like an extra speed boost in a raid comp is definitely not a bad thing. They definitely help out a lot. And as I said, I generally think that how much damage a spec does and the type of damage the spec does is usually the most sort of major factor when you're deciding how meta it is. And obviously in dungeons, Ellie's crazy damage. In raids, it's pretty good damage, and it's very, very good like cleave damage as well, and AoE, burst AoE. So yeah, I'm really happy about the spec at the moment. I think it's really, really good, and that's pretty much it. I just wanted to do a quick update video from last one. Thanks very much for watching. I really, really appreciate it. There are some links in the description, and yeah, I'll see you around on Twitch